call we were on, her dogs went nuts.
Okay, we're live.
We will call this Committee of the Whole meeting to order on November 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. First up on the agenda under public participation is Angela Stolzenberg with the ALMH survey. Angela?
Hello, thank you. Thank you all for taking a few minutes tonight, and also thank you for these great COVID-19 precautions. I appreciate the opportunity to call in. Every 3 years, Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital and the Logan County Department of Public Health conducts a community health needs assessment, and that process begins with a review of information collected from a variety of sources about Logan County, places like the National Cancer Institute, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Illinois Youth Survey, and many others. And the process is now at a point where we are conducting a community survey to ask all Logan County residents what they are experiencing and what they feel are the most important needs in Logan County. The process continues after that with listening sessions and focus groups using all of the information we've looked at and collected, and eventually it results in a list of priorities that will be addressed in a 3-year plan by the Health Department, Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and its Community Health Collaborative, and all the partners throughout Logan County. So the action items that are a direct result of this process in the past includes things like the CATCH program in our local schools, our work with District 27 that moved their cafeterias from frozen and processed foods to local fresh foods, and a project the city of Lincoln is very familiar with, the fitness court that is on 8th Street. So in your meeting package tonight, you received 2 items I want to bring your attention to. First is a flyer that I would ask for you to share with your constituents promoting the survey. The second is a copy of the survey itself. The survey is available online, and we have paper copies available throughout the county in places including the Lincoln Public Library and in City Hall. And what we would like to do is encourage everyone in Logan County to take that survey. The public is encouraged to take it by either paper or online by November 30th. It's only the month of November. And we are lucky to be able to offer a $250 gift card to Lincoln IGA that's been provided by the ALMH Foundation that will go to one lucky winner of the folks who do participate, and that winner will be drawn on December 5th. So we'd love to work with any organization, church, business, or group that's willing to share that survey. It's really critical that we have all the voices at the table as we work toward a healthy community. And if anyone would like to request a paper survey, I ask them to please call me at 217-605-5008. I'm going to try, if technology works with me, to put the link to the survey in the comments below this meeting so that folks who are listening and watching the meeting can go ahead and just fill that out. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions. But I appreciate the opportunity to bring that to all your attention and encourage everyone in the City of Lincoln, including City of Lincoln aldermen and also staff, to participate.
Alderman Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. And Angie, Ron Keller here. Thank you for addressing this. And you and I have talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago. You mentioned some of the action steps that were taken from the last community needs assessment. So from that, could you share what those priorities were that the community listed as our top health needs? And as well, are the funding for these steps coming from the collaborative, or are there other partners that the hospital works with to create these solutions?
Well, first of all, the last one that was done was 2018, and so the 4 priorities that were established then, and are we good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. The 4 priorities that were established in 2018 were obesity, mental health, substance use, and cancer for the hospital. And then Community Health Collaborative actually grabbed another one of poverty as a priority. And so what we really do, which is kind of new and exciting, is that on one hand, the hospital does its work, so that would be funded by the hospital. The collaborative does some things that are funded by the hospital foundation. And then we do also work with a variety of partners. So an example is that, this last school year, we worked with District 27. So everything the collaborative does is in partnership. A lot of things we do with the hospital are within partnership. So who funds what work, and some things don't cost any money. It's just a matter of effort and discussion and change. So yes, it could come from a variety of places, but this is the health department is required to do a plan by the Illinois Department of Public Health, and so is Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital. For the Affordable Care Act, because of our not-for-profit status, it's a requirement to make sure we give back to the community the benefit that we get as being a not-for-profit. I can guarantee we give much more back to the community than is required, but that's where the funding for those things come from.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Angela? Okay. Thank you, Angela, for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Mr. Corey Leonard. He would like to speak to the council about an application that he made to the Historic Preservation Commission for his office.
Stoltenberg has left the conference.
For his office at 517 Pulaski Street. Mr. Leonard, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Welch, and thanks to the council for giving me the opportunity to address tonight. Just wanted to go over some issues I had with signage. So a little background, I've been an insurance agent in downtown Lincoln for 18 years, nearly 18 years. And up until just the past couple months, I've been at the same location, which is on Pulaski Street between Mama's Arcade Cafe and Spirited Republic. I had been in communication with Spirited Republic, as we're both in units that the Gazzardos own. They were looking to expand their space, and since I was the neighboring business, they were looking to see if we could work together to allow them to do that. So the space came available 2 doors down, which is on the other side of the arcade corridor, across from Mama's Arcade in the hallway there. We worked together unit to get it in good shape and looking really good. And I moved into that unit and we furnished it. And been operating there for a couple months. So as a result, then I need to get my signage moved over, and Shelter, our corporation that I'm an agent for, owns the sign. That's part of our agent agreement. I contacted them. They said the current sign that I had was installed in 1998, so it was 22 years old. And they had a sign that was available that looked exactly like that sign, but it was an LED sign, was a more efficient, better sign, and they would go ahead and replace that sign with when we made the move. So I was to contact a sign company. I contacted 2 or 3 companies, and Prairie Signs out of Bloomington was willing to come down and look at the job. During the process, they had said that we would need to file something with the city before the job was done. So I worked with them on the information for the application and filed that. We did receive then a few weeks later a denial back from the commission, stating some various reasons on why they did not approve the sign. So when I received that, they listed a few things that made the sign not qualify. My first question to Mr. Doolan, who was the chairman of the president of that commission, was if he could send me the actual written criteria for signage so I could figure out, what made my sign not acceptable. He explained that there are no actual written criteria for signage. It's just the committee reviews signage on a case-by-case basis and then makes that decision, but there's no written criteria that they judge those by that would give me any specifications. So then I went back to him to ask what their objections were, and there was basically three objections. One, the first one was that they just don't allow cabinet signs. The sign that I had previously and the sign that I would be getting is approximately 3 foot by 12 foot. It would face Pulaski Street on the top in front of the building, and it would be lit at night. Same sign that I've had before, just a new version. They said they no longer allow those. I explained, it is the same sign I've always had, just a couple doors down. And as I went around the neighborhood and started kind of taking inventory of what the other signs look like, I did find that the two country agencies that are on my same block, one just down the street and then one around the corner, both do have lit cabinet signs as well. So I brought those to the attention of the commission. One of those, Joe Ryan sign, was installed prior to the commission being established, which my original one was as well. The one around the corner, however, was installed just a couple years ago, I believe, during the commission. So I asked to explain what criteria was for that sign. They weren't able to. They said they would have to go back and check all that when they approved it, because it was in a stance that they were not approving any signs like that. Then also one of the other main objections was that it could not obscure the facade of the building or the architectural detail. So mine would cover part of the front of the brick of the windows, same as what my other one did. In observing my location, the adjacent, the neighboring unit, which Gazzardo's also owned, is exactly the same brick front architecture, and there's a sign above that unit directly next to me that does cover almost the entire brick facade. But I know that sign was just installed within the last 2 to 3 years during the time when the commission was also in force. So I presented that to them, as well as, I guess, question on how that sign was approved. The answer there was that sign did not go through their approval until after it was installed. Although they didn't really approve of it, they chose to let it go ahead and stay because they were not asked prior to the sign going up. So I did meet with the council after that, talked with them about it, kind of presented my objections or my questions to the commission rather, and they chose to stand by the original decision. And so I understand the next process would be to speak with the council, as we're doing now, to ask for a new decision on that to allow that sign. As I told the commission, I understand trying to preserve the historic buildings. I obviously been in business downtown for nearly 20 years, so I care about the appearance of the area as much as anybody, I feel. My main concern is, having moved from the location I've always been, I want to keep that same branding, that same image, that same signage, so people who maybe only come to my office once or twice a year will be able to find my new location without having to search for me. I feel like spent time building that brand, and that sign is part of that, and would like, I guess, the consideration that it has been there even prior to when the commission was established, and we could try to keep that continuity for the new location. So yes, if anybody has any questions or further follow-up to that, I'd be glad to answer.
Alderman Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this question is more for you, the mayor, or city administrator, or city clerk. Does the Historic Preservation Commission take minutes of their meetings?
I believe they do.
Because I guess, I mean, we're hearing from Mr. Leonard, which I believe everything you're saying, but certainly I wouldn't feel comfortable making a decision based upon one side of it without seeing what the commission themselves and the rationale they gave. And again, Mr. Leonard, I appreciate you coming forward, and everything you said I'm sure is valid, but I guess if the commission, who is sort of an arm of the city, and we've entrusted to make some of these decisions, makes a decision, I would like to hear from them and what they've, the rationale they used to decide this.
And then once they do come in, I think we would need to have a discussion with them in regards to coming up with some rules so that there is consistency among the business owners when they come with these requests. Because I mean, if what is being said is accurate, then it seems like there could be some favoritism, or you turn an eye to a sign that was placed up, without the prior approval. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Alderman Bateman.
So I did reach out and talk to one of the commission members and got their side of it. Basically, they told me that, they felt that they were entrusted with the historic preservation of downtown. Did admit that there's no guidelines or anything. As you can see, there is an architectural brickwork that this sign would go over. And as Mr. Leonard pointed out, the sign right next to it, the Central Illinois Insurance, is over top the exact same architectural thing. The problem I'm having, and this might be what Steve's pointing out, is right now Mr. Leonard's only problem is he followed procedure and asked, where the other people just put the signs up without asking, and then that's what Mr. Leonard was told was, well, they didn't ask, so we're not going to make them take it down. So I personally, I have a problem with that aspect. And the other aspect I have, and I had a conversation with Mr. Leonard, is if he was a brand new business coming to town, not established, and the historic preservation did have a set of rules that this business could follow, and the city has a set of rules that says in order to open the business, and if you want to put up signage, you have to go through historic preservation, and historic preservation gives their recommendation to the council. In other words, it'd be like a committee where the elected officials have the final say. I could see the point, but for me, I'm kind of in favor of letting him put the sign up, because there is no rules. There is no set parameters. We allowed this commission to operate without that. That's our fault. And he is an established business of nearly 2 decades, and he's just he's technically moving his sign. Granted, it's a brand new sign, but it's going to look just like his old one. And, so it's basically the same as moving the sign. The other one would be removed. So in this instance, I'm in favor of Mr. Leonard's request of allowing him to put the sign up, but I do feel we need to look at this deeper and come up with a set of guidelines and rules, and then an actual procedure that moves forward for this kind of commission.
Corey, when was your first application date? I know we've got one in the packet, but you've been to that commission twice, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I believe the application that I had sent was the original application, which I'm trying to find if we have a date on when that was submitted. I believe it was about October 15th is when we had notification that the commission was going to meet. And then I believe it was October 19th was when we received a notification that the application was not approved. So I don't know that we have a date that when it doesn't look like there's a date on the original application, but it looks like when the committee or the commission rather met to originally look at it was on the 14th, October 14th.
Okay. Alderman Parrott.
Just a quick question is, and I haven't been down that street in a little bit. Is your old sign still up?
Yes, it has not been taken down yet. That would be done by the sign company when they install the new one. Was what the plan was.
When they remove that, it's probably going to look like there's been a sign there. I mean, is there a requirement from the city to have that like power wash or whatever to see if it could look like the rest of the building or the?
Not that I'm aware of. So, the arrangement that Mr. Leonard has had that caused his relocation was that he has been next door to Spirited Republic since Spirited Republic opened a number of years ago. They came up with an agreement with Mr. Gazzardo, who owns the property, and he moved down into the new location where Visual Ink used to be, and Spirited Republic has now expanded into Mr. Leonard's old office space. I was in there last weekend, and I believe they're just about ready to open it up to the public if they haven't already. And so now we've got a situation where we have another business operating in a location under Mr. Leonard's old sign. Meanwhile, he's down the block, and he has no signage at all. So that's one of the things that I spoke with him about, and it was not only that, but inclement weather is starting to hit us. And so trying to get signage put up will start to become a challenge as well. Alderman Fleshman.
Thank you. My question would be, does the signage that he's proposing put up, are there any other city ordinances that this might not comply with? Taking historic preservation out of the picture,
No.
nothing? Okay.
Nope.
Because he's had a sign within 2 locations or 2 addresses from here, I tend to agree with Alderman Bateman and let this be kind of grandfathered in and let him go ahead and move his sign. But I also agree with Mr. Parrott, Alderman Parrott, that historic preservation needs to, we need to kind of work with them and try to get some guidelines there that we're not, just picking and choosing, that we actually have some guidelines to go by.
Yeah, I tend to agree that I think we need to allow Mr. Leonard to move his sign, especially since other signs have gone up and have not been challenged and are similar in design. I've never had anybody tell me that those other signs were an eyesore. There is the matter of the decorative brick being covered up, but the precedent's already been set in that the place next door to where he's at now, that's already in place. That's not even a lighted sign. So I do agree that we need to do that. I do think that we probably need to reach out to Mr. Doolin as the chair of that commission and bring this to his attention, and then also ask for some more detailed guidelines to be put out there. They have a site on the city website that has a brochure and things of that nature. So I think it's a matter of enhancing the information that's out there that could then accompany the application form that is available on the city site. Alderman Heineke.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I propose to go ahead and put on the agenda the okay to install the sign at that location, and if some earth-shattering information comes between now and then, we can always table it on the agenda. I'm in favor of placing it on the agenda for next week.
Is everybody okay with that?
Mr. Welch, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Hoblet.
Thank you. The Historic Preservation Commission does have its powers outlined within our city code. I believe it's 2-10. And there was a question earlier as whether or not there is minutes generated for the Historic Preservation Commission. There should be. Under 2-10-7, that does exist where their meetings are supposed to have essentially minutes, and also there's powers that are outlined and duties that are outlined in there, and also the appeals process, which this particular individual is availing himself of. So if you guys are looking to curtail or critique some of those issues, I believe the good starting point is what we already have within our code.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Leonard or Mr. Hoblet on what he shared? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hoblet. Then we'll go ahead and place this on the regular agenda. And if any new information comes up, then we'll discuss that during the meeting next week. All right, thank you, Mr. Leonard. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate the time.
Yep, have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is
Has left the conference.
the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, and Mr. Chris Seedy and Casey Peterson are here to provide a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
We can. I'm getting you up on the screen here.
All right.
1 second. Okay. It's all yours.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Chris Setti. I'm the CEO of the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. I will introduce my colleague Casey in a few moments. First, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation to the council. Your city manager, Ms. Calvin, had asked us to do this just to give you an update on some of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of months. It's obviously been a trying couple of months for the entire nation and world, but certainly here in Central Illinois. For those of you are not aware, the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, of which the City of Lincoln is an investor member, is a public-private partnership that does economic development services and planning services for a 5-county area, including Logan County. And even though we're based in the city of Peoria, we do cover all the way down to Logan County, and really do try to work with you, your staff, and your businesses to reach your economic goals as a community. We are really have kind of 5 lines of business that we traditionally kind of work on. We do business, and I should say that the mission of the organization is to really work with our partners to drive economic growth through targeted business and talent attraction and development. So we really are a very broad organization that tries to work in a lot of different areas. And really kind of the unofficial motto of the organization is that we try to do collectively what is hard for our communities to do individually. So really it's about pooling resources, whether that's financial resources or human resources, to meet our common goals. So the areas that we traditionally do work in are business attraction, so marketing our region to outside investors, whether those be foreign investors or other companies and businesses that are outside of the immediate region, trying to attract them to come to our area. We do business assistance, and Casey's going to talk a little bit more about that, but really trying to work with our existing businesses to help them overcome barriers and also help them grow, because we know that 80 to 90% of businesses in a community come from the businesses that are already there. 80 to 90% of the jobs in a community come from the businesses that are already there. We do some work around workforce development. So we would work with your community colleges in the area and Lincoln College to ensure that the businesses in our community and elsewhere throughout the region have the kind of workforce that meets their needs. The number one reason that companies tell us that they can't grow, and it's their number one struggle, is finding employees that are qualified and motivated to do the jobs. We do a lot of work around the startup world and with innovation, and have helped and worked on a couple of projects there in the Lincoln area. You had a co-working space that was trying to start at one point, providing some to those types of organizations. And then finally, some work around what we would call rural development. And I realize that Lincoln's not really a rural community, but it's inside of a rural area. And so this is really a focus of ours, and this is some of the work that Casey does to really try to reach out to the smaller communities in what we call Greater Peoria. Sometimes those communities, like your own, that doesn't have an economic development force of its own, to try to work on the ground and help you and your community reach your goals. Before I turn it over to Casey, I just thought I'd talk a little bit about what we've all been going through in the last couple of months and some of the work that the GPDC has done along with the City of Lincoln to try to help that. It's obviously been a trying time for all sorts of businesses and our citizens. And traditionally, the GPDC doesn't tend to do a lot of work with smaller, what we would call Main Street businesses, retail, hospitality, restaurants. It's just not in our general work, to work on those. We try to work more with primary economy jobs, factories, offices, healthcare systems, because those sorts of work around retail is really best left to local professionals. But recognizing the toll that COVID has really taken on this region, and that the types of businesses that have really been bearing the brunt of the pandemic, from the economics of it and then regulatory restrictions, has really been those smaller, locally owned businesses, oftentimes bars, restaurants, retail, hotel. And so that's really where we have been focusing the last 6 months, recognizing that even if it isn't our traditional line of work, it's where the work needed to be done. So we've been serving as a channel of communication to businesses. You may actually see some of the things that we put out. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were putting out a bulletin once a day on different resources and information that's available for businesses. That has slowed down considerably as there hasn't been as much information to share. But we do kind of feel it's our duty to serve as that central point of relevant and timely information for businesses. We've launched a website. It's www.gpcovid.com. And that has really been there as a place businesses turn to find information on whether there's financial resources, guidance around HR policies, things about taxes, unemployment, anything like that. We really then tried to be on the ground in helping businesses with their, access those resources. And I think the thing that I'm the most proud of is our work around the Downstate Business Stabilization Program. That was a partnership that we did with Logan County that took the burden, quite frankly, off the city of Lincoln to run its own program. This is honestly a very complex and frustrating program that the state of Illinois has put out that required businesses to apply through a unit of local government. And we were able to work with Logan County for them to serve as that unit of local government. And we're able to work with a number of Logan County businesses, almost all of them in the city of Lincoln, to apply for, and many of them were awarded that grant. And right now we're working on processing their grant awards. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Casey. He joined us a couple of months ago, and he's just going to talk a little bit about some of the work he's done in the Lincoln area.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Over to Shay. Thank you guys, Beth and Mayor, for inviting us again and giving this opportunity to share kind of what we do. And I'll talk a little bit about myself. I'm the Director of Rural Outreach and Development. And like Chris said, what that means is I work with smaller communities, usually much smaller than yours, who don't have full-time economic development staff or even a Chamber of Commerce, to make sure that people, business owners, and elected and appointed officials are being properly represented and informed when it comes to opportunities and development throughout the region. So some of my pet projects I work on, right now I'm working on rural broadband development. There's the state has another round of grant funding, so I'm working to try to figure out how we can best serve our 5-county region here in Greater Peoria, and as well as coming up with ways for Main Street revitalization in cities like Lincoln, who have a historic square, or other communities who have a Main Street. And I know that in Lincoln we have that partially done, but there's still a decent way to go on that. So that's something that I'm personally focused on. But as Chris mentioned, right now we're doing a lot of direct outreach to businesses. Just in the past month, my colleague Sally Hanley and I, who she works in business retention. We've attended at least 4 business meetings in Lincoln. We visited Cresco and a couple other businesses who had applied for state grants. Really what we do there is we sit down with them, we ask them, how is everything going from a larger standpoint, right? Did you get the aid that you requested? If so, why not? Do you know about these new programs that have come out? Can we help you apply for those? And if you're looking to expand, where are your constraints there? Is it space? Is it workforce? Is it distribution? All of those type of things. So I learned a lot about each community, and that's my favorite part of the job is getting to travel around and work with so many wonderful people we have in this region. And unfortunately, due to recent mitigation efforts enacted by the state and just where COVID is, I see that as a large part of my role going forward. And I wanted to extend to any businesses in Lincoln or any businesses that you guys personally interact with who are just kind of overwhelmed by the myriad of different programs by the state to reach out to Chris or I. And Beth certainly has our contact information, and I'd be happy to come down and meet with a business. I've done that personally, and I've helped 3 businesses apply for the new business interruption grant in Lincoln alone. So another thing we do is every Friday, Beth and I and a bunch of other community leaders, we get together and we talk about best practices when working with businesses on these programs, how to get them to apply, and how to best aid them throughout the process. So that's a little bit about what I do. And again, I want to say thank you for your invitation. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Chris and I'd be happy to answer them.
Maybe just to wrap up, first of all, I thank you for being a part of Greater Peoria EDC. My hat's off to Beth, who's been a really active participant in those business case manager meetings on Friday and really bringing to us cases to help work through. One of the values of being part of our organization is really being able to be plugged in. I've spoken with Beth a number of times around the state's CURES program and trying to connect her with technical assistance around that. We will learn a lot by just having these kinds of meetings where economic development professionals and other sort of municipal officials can learn from each other and share those best practices. We will continue to do that, to provide that kind of technical assistance, be an advocate for you at the state level if it's needed, and try to help you figure out the details of what can sometimes be very cumbersome and complex processes. So we're happy to take any questions you might have. Otherwise, we thank you for the invitation and have a good rest of your meeting.
Are there any questions for Chris or Casey? Ms. Kavelman?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Chris and Casey, for all you are doing for Lincoln and Logan County. You've been very helpful, and I don't think we could have done some of these things without you. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Our mission statement says that, the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, in partnership with our local communities, and then the rest of it. And it's really the stuff between the commas. And if it's not like if it isn't for professionals like Ms. Kavelman, acting mayor, your acting mayor, your council, that's what really makes it, that's what really makes it happen. So we appreciate the partnership as much as you do.
Yeah, and I will echo what Ms. Kavelman said. Thanks for being a partner with us. I know every time I have a question, I can call and you pick up the phone or you call back rather quickly. Certainly the amount of money that this council pays every year to be a membership has benefited the community, especially during this COVID crisis, in the return of grants and things that we've been able to receive with Ms. Kavelman working with them. So thank you very much for your partnership.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay, have a good night as well. Okay, in the interest of time for some of the people on the phone, I'm going to go ahead and jump down to number 7. Nancy, we'll come back to you guys with R.W. Garrett in just a minute. So we're going to go down to number 7 first, and that is the request a permit that's been submitted by Lisa Mostenzik from Top Hat Creamery. Lisa?
Yep, I'm here.
Floor is yours.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for giving me this time tonight. Basically, we are trying to get creative. COVID has obviously had a major impact on small business in every community. And us being a pretty new business and still not having, we just weren't prepared for this. I don't think anyone was, but we especially weren't. So we're trying to get creative and figure out ways to get out into the community. We've not allowed people actually to come into the shop since, middle of March. So when all this started, we just decided we were too small of a space, and we just didn't feel like it was safe or in the best interest of the community to do that. So we've run curbside service as best we can. We've talked around delivery, but a friend of mine made a small vintage camper available to me a few weeks ago and suggested that maybe we try to do some pop-up events around the holidays. And after speaking with Faye at the health department and realizing that that was going to be possible with this camper, it's not, I don't want you to think it's like a Cousin Eddie RV. It's a really small, cute vintage camper. And I think it is a really good way for us to get out and hopefully stay alive through the winter months. So what I'm asking for is a permit to be able to park it primarily downtown the nights of the horse and carriage rides. I would just like to move it down and park it on either the east side or the west side of the arcade tunnel there in the street. It is very small. It would probably take up one parking spot. Everything that we serve out of there will be prepackaged: hot cocoa, hot cider, small scoops of ice cream. We're going to have some baked goods. Pretty basic, but just a way for us to hopefully generate a little bit of business with downtown traffic around the holidays. Are there questions?
I don't see any questions. Alderman Fleshman does have a question.
Could you please repeat for us the days that you want to utilize them parking spots?
Did you hear that, Lisa?
Yeah, what parking spots?
They want to know, Alderman Fleshman would like to know which dates that you would like to use the parking spots.
Okay, yes. I'm looking at November 27th, which is the night of the tree lighting, so I think there'll be a lot of people downtown for that. December 4th, December 11th, and December 18th. And then my next question for you all would be, if I decide I would like to do some other pop-up events around town, how do permits work for that? Would I apply for each individual one? I have a friend that owns a space over on Pekin Street that's going to do like a holiday boutique, and she would love for me to come park in front of there. So I just need to know, is this a general permit? Do I need to apply for different places, dates and time, that sort of thing?
Alderman Bateman.
Okay, so this is right up my food truck thing. So I've been talking about this for quite a while with my wife and the mayor and everybody else I talked to about it. And the city currently does not have any kind of food truck permit for like downtown. So I would like to work with her on trying to get some kind of ordinance together. And one of the things I was going to ask was that, kind of like we did the outdoor seating thing, that she would use no more than 2 parking spots. That would give her the opportunity to park the camper parallel with the curb and serve that away. Or for safety reasons, if, I haven't seen the camper, but, if it's small, like she said, it should fit within a parking area. And then the next adjacent parking area would be the serving area. So those are the kind of things that I think we should work on for like a long-term solution. But I have no problem letting her do those dates, and then we just come up with a way that that businesses like hers can utilize the downtown area without taking up numerous not 20 parking spaces, but at least a couple, because it's only going to be for a few hours at a time. I agree. I'm all about small business, and right now every government needs to look at how we can help those in any way we possibly can.
Thank you so much.
Alderman Parrott.
We don't have a food truck permit, but how do we allow some of the food trucks or some of the establishments that come for like Pigs and Swigs or some other things that are in the downtown square area where they're serving food from those?
Peggy, your office does issue permits for that, correct?
And everybody's come forward. I mean, we've never had a problem where they've been doing it and didn't have a permit.
It's not
they
an,
come forward.
what is it, $25, I believe?
It depends on, we prorate it, so it depends, if it's a one-time shot or if it's going to be like a couple months or whatever.
Alderman Bateman.
So to answer your question, Pigs and Swigs, we come forward, we block off an entire area. Those food vendors that you're talking about are within that parameter. Then you have issues like my brother owns a food truck or food trailer. He sets up at Big R occasionally. He's come to Lincoln, got his food. It's a yearly license for food handlers things. What I'm getting at is we don't have nothing for the downtown area. So they have to get a food handler license through the clerk's office annually, but we don't have any rules and regulations if they're using public parking. Like, my brother and Mr. Bay and others have been using Big R and the fairground location and stuff. So I've looked. We have nothing that allows the use of parking spaces in the downtown square area, and that's what I think we need to work on.
So we had already talked about that because of COVID and the parklet idea and things like that. I think this just is all the more reason we need to expedite an ordinance so that we can help these businesses out. Mr. Conzo, did you have something?
I did, Mayor. Thank you. I think this is a great idea. I'm glad to see her doing this. It would seem we've had ice cream trucks, ice cream vendors that have come in for permits over the years, and it's never been a problem. They apply for the permit and receive those. This doesn't seem to me to be terribly different than that.
Yeah, I think, this is my opinion, I think it's a great idea, Lisa. I think that it complements the horse ride experience, and I know that, and Morgan's going to talk about this here in a few minutes, but the whole downtown experience that they're trying to create this year due to the pandemic and trying to do something nice for the community, I think it just adds to that experience. And so my personal opinion is I would be in favor of approving this request for you to use those spots on those dates. And then in the meantime, Alderman Bateman or whoever he'd like to help him with can draft an ordinance and then bring that back for preparation for next year or the year after.
Wonderful. Do I also, there's other things that will pop up. Like I know that Lisa from Sorrento's is working on possibly having Santa in the window there, and she had asked if maybe I could come over there. Again, who do I need to contact if different things come up to make sure that I'm getting the right permission to take a parking spot or two, or is this going to be a stand? I mean, I know because you don't have an ordinance in place, I just want to make sure I'm not breaking any rules.
So
we'll come up with some kind of wording before next week's voting session to get her through.
Awesome.
Till we have an ordinance. I think we can come up with something like that.
Yeah, we can write it in such a way that would allow that. I do know that when the Balloon Fest happened and Lisa had some people come in town, it was very last minute, and so they worked with the county and actually placed their camper on the county property. So then it just didn't become a city issue. But we want to work with you in the long term, and we will make this work for you.
Well, we can't thank you enough. I mean,
Yep.
on behalf of all small businesses right now, it just means so much that you all are doing everything you can to see us stay alive. So thank you.
Yep, Alderman Hoineke.
Yes, thank you. Lisa, did you have some hours? Those are all Friday. Are they going to be just Friday evenings, or do you have an idea of the hours? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like hours wise, I think the horse and carriage is there 6 to 9 those evenings. I mean, I know that we'll be done by 9. That's when our shop closes at 9 anyway. I don't look for, I think probably 6 to 9 on those Friday evenings would be it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Lisa? Okay, so place this on the consent agenda. Okay, Lisa, we'll place this on the consent agenda.
Thank you so much. Have a
Yep,
good night.
thank you, you too. Okay, next item moving down, Morgan Gleason, the exec.
Lisa Mastenza?
Has left the conference.
Morgan Gleason, the executive director of the Logan County Tourism Bureau, has joined us for items 8 and 9. 8 is the request of permit from the Bureau, the closure of street for the Winter Wonderland Friday, November 27th, 2020, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Morgan, do you want to tell us about that one?
Sure. Good evening. I have Kathy Williams here with me as well. She is taking up the sponsorships and does organize all the Christmas trees on the lawn. Due to COVID and we want to social distance, we wanted to get permission to block off the one block of Kickapoo Street between Broadway and Pulaski, just so people can stretch out more, have room to social distance. Last year, we did not block off any roads, but we thought it would be helpful this year just to make sure everyone is safe. We're requesting from 5 to 6. The tree lighting ceremony starts at 5:30, and I doubt it will go till 6, but just to make sure everyone has enough time, we wanted to do it just for the hour. And of course, if we get done early, we'll move the barricades. One business will be open during that time. That is Guest House there on that road. And I did speak with Ethan, and he was in favor of it. So there should be no problems there.
Any questions for Morgan on this request? Alderman Bateman?
That's on a Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
Morgan, you're gonna have to contact the courthouse, to see what's on their schedule that day. If there is court, they take the people in and out that side of the courthouse. So, I would just get with the clerk's office or the sheriff's department to.
So Friday after Thanksgiving.
I'd still, you probably should get a hold of them just to make sure, so that they don't have to use that ramp to get in and out of the courthouse on that time.
Okay.
Okay, so place this item on the consent agenda?
Just state workers.
Those, you can tell those of us.
Yeah.
Like county.
State employees here.
Morgan's agreed that she'll follow up with the county on that one to make sure. And Morgan, if you run into any issues, let us know. Okay, so consent agenda for this request?
Yes.
Okay, we'll place that on the consent agenda. Next item is from the Logan County Tourism Bureau, a request closure of streets for the Christmas cruise-in downtown in Lincoln, Thursday, December 3rd, 2020, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. All yours, Morgan.
Okay, so this is new this year. It is an alternative to the Christmas parade. The tourism board originally voted not to have the Christmas parade, but we had a change of heart and we want to do something. So we're going to make it a drive-through only parade. And what you have in the agenda packet is the route of the parade would be the
participants would be stationary down Kickapoo Street on the east side, so on the sides of the courthouse and Scully Park. And then they would loop around and go down Pekin Street and then make another turn and go down Chicago Street, where the route would end with Santa in front of the depot. We would have the cars that are wanting to drive through the parade start in the high school parking lot instead of down Wyatt, because we don't want to have the congestion down Wyatt and then have to block off all those streets, and it would just be easier just to line up in Wyatt. I have reached out to the superintendent at the high school, and he gave us the approval for this. So then they would then be told when to leave the high school parking lot. We would do a few cars at a time, so it's not congested. They're on Wyatt, and then they would follow the route. But the main road, the roads that I need blocked off, so that I'm requesting to be blocked off, is all the way down Kickapoo Street from Decatur to Broadway, the east and west side of Kickapoo and Pekin, the north side of Chicago and Pekin, the south and west side of Wyatt and Kickapoo, and then some half streets of Chicago and Pekin and on Prim Road.
Any questions for Morgan? Okay, Walt's not here tonight, Morgan, but I don't think this will be a problem. So I'm sure that you usually communicate with Walt on these type of things. So get with him, and if he has any concerns, let us know.
Okay, so do I need to wait till after it's approved next week to start taking entries and getting this out there? As I wanted, that would then put us another week behind. I didn't know if I could go.
We can't technically vote tonight because it's not a voting meeting, but I can say that I'm in favor of this, and I would support it.
Okay.
Alderman Hoineke.
Yeah, I would recommend taking applications. I don't see it being voted down either, but at least you can get your operation going.
Yep. Okay, so place this on the consent agenda. Okay, Morgan, we will place this one on the consent agenda for next week as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you guys have a good evening. Christmas early. Okay, next item up is number 6. This is the employee health insurance renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois agrees to a 24-month rate guarantee at the rates quoted for the first 12 months. This guarantee shall apply regardless of claims experience or medical status, but is contingent upon the employer maintaining at least 51 or more enrolled subscribers at the time of the initial policy issuance and upon the renewal for the second 12-month period. Nancy, did you or Josh or Sarah want to speak to the council about this?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Sarah is going to speak on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just for a recap, we actually met with the Employee Insurance Committee meeting a week ago Monday, and we're able to bring to the table the Blue Cross Blue Shield rates, as well as Health Alliance. We had gone to them, letting them know where Blue Cross Blue Shield came in with the city rates, and Blue Cross or Health Alliance came back and reduced the premium by another 10%. So you had a 0% renewal, then they came back and reduced the premium by 10% to remain competitive with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield's rates were still lower though than what Health Alliance came back with the 10% decrease. We presented all the plans to the employees and the committee. They voted on going with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then from there, they decided on what plans they wanted to be able to offer all employees. You will see in the attachments, there are 2 documents that show a comparison of 3 plans on each page. You'll see that one at the top says QHDHP, the HSA Blue Cross plan options. Those are your HSA high deductible plan options. So there's 3 on one page. And on the other page, you will see that there are the Blue Cross plan options for PPO. So they decided to go between those 6 plans. You can actually do up to 6 plans with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that they chose 6 plans. In the process, they eliminated the HMO plan and opted to add the Blue Cross zero deductible plan to replace it, which is a PPO plan. So those are the 6 plans that they elected. Just kind of wanted to also let you know that we did receive that 2-year rate guarantee after our meeting on a week ago Monday. They Blue Cross came back with a 2-year rate guarantee instead of the 5% cap like we had reported earlier, to remain competitive actually with Health Alliance. They appreciated that the employees had elected to go with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So, but that wording that you do have on your agenda, that is exactly directly from the agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield, how that is worded. Also wanted to remind you of with going to Blue Cross Blue Shield, there's the transition credit that will be coming to you as well for transitioning to Blue Cross Blue Shield, as well as a 1% discount. So they came down another 1%, Blue Cross did, with adding the life insurance policy, the active duty life insurance policy that we did.
Okay, Alderman Parrott?
Yes, just one quick question. What is our number of enrolled subscribers for the city?
Sarah, did you hear the question?
The number of enrolled subscribers?
Yes.
You have roughly 71, including the retirees.
Thank you.
Pre-65 retired.
Yeah.
Pre-65 retirees.
Pre-65 retirees. Any other
65
questions?
and over, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. So I did want to say that this year with the committee that was put together, the Employee Insurance Committee, I think it worked out really well. I think we learned a lot from last year. All of those that showed up and participated, I think were active and understand where we were at in the process. And I think we ended up with some really good rates here for the city and a savings. And I did want to thank R.W. Garrett for continually going back and fighting for us with the agencies to get better rates, better than I think at least I expected to see come back. So all in all, I think it was a successful year for the committee and the city of Lincoln in this respect. Okay, so would you guys like to place these 6 plans on the agenda, the regular agenda for next week?
Can I say so?
Okay, Ms.
Can
Bateman.
can you please clarify for everyone, since they did already vote about the employer portion, how that's
HSA.
gonna, yeah, HSA.
Yep. So the council did take a vote, as you remember, recently about the HSA, and it was only specific to the $2,800 deductible plan. And so that is why you see that in this packet. So just so that everybody knows, if that employee chooses to take that plan, they will receive that, I believe it's $215 is the HSA rate. And otherwise, they will revert to the HSA rate that is stipulated in their contracts. And that varies by union.
And the 215 goes for the 6,000 also, correct?
I thought it was only specific to the 2,800.
2,800 or the 6,000.
Sarah, does the HSA apply to the 6,000 plan as well?
It's an HSA, yeah.
Yeah.
So the only way they'll revert back to the original is the 1,500, if they take the $1,500 one.
Okay. Okay. So any questions on that? All right, we'll place this on the regular agenda for next week. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay, moving down to number 10, that is the invoice from Crawford Murphy and Tilley for the Union Street Pump Station construction in the amount of $2,445.13 for professional services from August 29, 2020 to August 2, 2020, or October 2, I'm sorry. Christy, did you want to speak about this one?
Just some cleanup details of getting that project rolled out. Just to give an update, basically all the payouts have been made to Stark, and we're just waiting for all those final lien waivers to come back in, and then we can get the switch made.
Okay, so any questions on this one? Okay, place this on the regular agenda? Yes. Okay, we will place that one on the regular agenda. The next one is the invoice from Crawford Murphy and Tilley for the CSO improvement construction phase in the amount of $55,946.35 for professional services from August 29, 2020 to October 2nd, 2020. Christy?
This is basically for any submittal reviews, and then we have had a lot of time out on the job site because the contractor's really been making substantial progress. Probably a little bit more than we will typically have, but there have been a lot of concrete pours this last month. So it's been important to get all of the rebar and make sure that everything's there before it gets covered up and we get those things checked. They're making tremendous progress.
Alderman Bateman.
I just want to say, that's the portion of this project that 99% of the city does not see because they don't drive down to the sewer plant. But if you do, it is a mass undertaking, a lot of dirt moved, a lot of just a lot of work. With the drought, they've been able to move at warp speed. So it is a huge construction project, which bodes to why this bill is, because we have to have engineers on site. But it's not out of the ordinary. It's just that this project is moving at such a fast pace. That's why this bill is higher and not spread out over time, because they're moving that fast. So
Place this on the regular agenda? Yep. Okay, we will place that one on the regular agenda. Okay, item number 12, the invoice from Crawford Murphy and Tilley for preliminary engineering service for the Fifth Street Road in the amount of $29,013.17 for professional services from August 29th, 2020 to October 2nd, 2020. Christy, did you have any information on this one since it's Fifth Street?
No, I don't, but
Okay.
I'm looking at who's been working on it. It does look like it's primarily on land acquisition. All those folks are working. Beth may have more information on that, but it's all definitely tied up in the land acquisition.
Ms. Cavalman?
Yes, if anything ever's deserved, it is for this this invoice. They've been really working very strongly on last portions of this land acquisition. So this has been well deserved, this invoice.
Yeah, and I did sign 2 more parcel acquisitions on Friday, so making progress.
Place on the agenda then.
Okay, place this on the regular agenda. All right, Christy, I think that's all we need you for tonight. If you want to drop off, have a good evening.
Are you sure?
No,
Unless you want to stick around.
gotta stay.
I'll stick around for a little bit just in case you need me.
Yeah.
Okay.
16, number 16.
Oh, I thought Andrew had it, but
Oh,
that's okay. Okay, item number 13 is the Union Pacific Railroad invoice in the amount of $230.59 for Fifth Street Road. Ms. Cavalman, did you want to speak to this one?
Yes, this is one of the last probably of the invoices that we will receive from Union Pacific Railroad, but we can't guarantee it. We do have a contract with them. All this time we said from July 6th onward we would not pay for any more work. From what I'm understanding, they have their own means of how they do things. So they will continue to do work as they see fit on the Union Pacific Railroad and will submit these to us. But we do have a contract with them to pay for this and under this reason.
The contract in question has a cap of $7,000, correct?
Right, yes.
And where are we at now?
We're probably around 700 and, let's see, 780 something or whatever. But when I go to deduct, I'm going to go in and ask for reimbursement for the legal fees. So that should reduce that down. Now that I know that's two different issues, but that will reduce that amount down. They are coming back and asking for an increase for an extension on this. I don't believe it's going to be too much because they understand what we're doing, that we're trying to really watch our dollars on this. But things are also looking very good with been approved by IDOT to go forward with moving monies. We're waiting for CMT to get that calculated for us to move monies from the land acquisition area that we have excess money over to the preliminary engineering so that we can finish some of these up, as well as with Hanson Professional Services for their work.
Any discussion with the council? What would the council like to do with this one? Alderman Fleshman.
Yeah, you say we are under contract with them, and that is the $7,000 contract that we were discussing?
7,000 cap, and according to Julie Ship, who's our professional engineer, has said that there's always been a leeway between a little bit of a give both ways on this, and that Union Pacific Railroad will do what they see fit as far as taking care of that Havana spur. So I don't think we have a lot to say against it.
I think that's the part that concerns me, is that I keep hearing that they're going to do what they want to do. That's not how businesses work together. I thought that we've been very clear about this from, going months back on this one. And if the council chooses to put it on the agenda next week, that's fine. I'm still going to vote no on it. Alderman Bateman.
Next time you talk to them, I tell them to let them do the work as they see fit. And as coming from one vote from this council, I see fit not paying them. They can do whatever they want. I'm not going to ever vote to pay for them if they're not working with us. They're running. It's like they're running roughshod. We can't get a clear answer where we're at on paying them. Nah, just let them do what they want. You know, as Ron Keller said, or Ron Fleshman said last week, they do work on crossings all the time and it doesn't cost the city a dime. So I don't know why this one's any different. So if they want to work on the crossing, let them work on it. They can foot the bill. It's just ridiculous. This is a never-ending saga with this thing.
Well, keep me honest, Ms. Cavalman, but a portion of the bill that we've received is for their time to go back and draft up a new forced agreement for us after we just signed a forced agreement with them. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't recall this council asking them to go back and create another forced agreement, and we certainly wouldn't have done it if they told us they were going to charge us to do it. So I think that's my reservation on this bill, is that they're doing things that we're not asking them to do. Again, we need to be clear. We're not saying we don't want to work with them on the Fifth Street Road project. We're just not ready for them at this point. Treasurer Conzo, did you have a question?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I guess, I'd defer to the city attorney on this, but if we have a contract with them, I don't see how we can say we're not going to pay them if we've got a contract that covers this. And the second thing is, the question I have is, when did we enter into this contract? And if we didn't want them to do this, why did we enter into the contract?
So the contract itself is to me, it doesn't look like it's in contractual format. It looks like it's a letter that was signed between two parties. Now, the city attorney will likely tell me it doesn't matter if it's signed, it's a legal binding document. I agree with that. My understanding, at least a week or two ago, was that we had exceeded that cap. And so that's my position on this matter, is that if it was $7,000 and we've exceeded the cap and they keep going, what do we have to do to stop them? So, Ms. Kavelman.
Yes, from my calculation, and then I spoke also with Julie, but my calculation looks like we were exceeded by like $34, I believe, is what it went over the 7,000. But I understand, and I know this forced agreement, the old one, the contract was set up in 2017, signed by former city administrator Clay Johnson, and then came along and the lead person on this railroad spur that will be part of that contract, a part of the whole entire construction project, signed it in July of 2019. Now, I don't know what precipitated that, why he did that, but he did. And so they've been going since 2017 with this 7,000 cap.
Alderman Heineke, did you have something? No. Alderman Bateman first, and then you, Steve.
Memory serves me correctly. Didn't they also charge us for a couple lunches that we questioned? Like
They charge
Arby's
us for
receipts and stuff like that? So why don't we just all go out to eat and we'll discuss that over dinner and then charge them back that we had to eat supper while discussing their overage.
For your local business.
Okay.
Alderman Parrott.
So you had mentioned that I think you said Julie said they can go a little over, they can go a little under. I don't know what that is exactly meant by that, because if it's a contract and if that's not in the contract and it's $7,000, then $7,000 is where it stops and we don't pay anymore.
Right, and what I meant is it's been kind of the norm to be a little leeway on some of this, but I agree, 7,000, that's the cap, and if they wanted to do an extension, they should have applied for it before they exceeded it.
Well, and I would probably say that's likely the reason that this project has kind of got the black eye that it does is because for far too long, work has just been done, spending has just been made, and now that we're actually starting to microscope the work and the bills, we're starting to see a lot of things that don't make sense. To me, this is one of them. Alderman Fleshman.
Yes, I believe at the last cow, we talked about contacting them and that we didn't want any more work done until all the land acquisitions were complete. Did you get a response to that?
No, and this is where Julie worked with me on doing a response as far as from her expertise on engineering and her experience with dealing with the railroads. But no, we have not received a response back. I can reach out again, but I'm not.
I believe that was at least 10 days ago, seven to 10 days ago, and we haven't received a response to that.
No, not yet.
So they just got a new project manager for this project, correct?
Sean Collier, yes. And he now is, the way we understood was that Union Pacific Railroad had laid off some individuals and then had hired them back as private consultants, and that's what he's doing.
So I'll propose a question to the council. Should we have Mr. Collier come and explain his bill?
Yes. Is he going to charge us for that?
Alderman Downs. Well, they're going to charge us for anything they want, so.
Yeah, he lives in Denver, and he did charge us last time when he came and flew
he
here,
can
and that's when he got the Arby's sandwich.
What's the going rate for a Zoom meeting? I don't know. I mean, honestly, if they want the
I will
bill
invite
paid,
them, and I think the Chris Kasiek, if that's how you pronounce his name, I think he needs to be there too. He is employed actually with Union Pacific Railroad.
They don't have to fly here, they can just get on Zoom.
Yeah. Sam, did you get the answer you wanted?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest we need to have a meeting with them, and then I realized they might charge us for it, so I want to get parameters on that. But we need to meet with them and figure this out. It doesn't seem like it should be that tough to figure it out. So
I agree with you. Okay, Ms. Kavelman, can you request that Sean
Collier.
If you can ask him to dial in, date to be determined. Do you guys want to put this on the agenda and then have him call in, or push it to the next cow?
Next cow.
Okay. Date to be determined. Okay, so we'll pull that one up. Okay, next item up is the discussion of bids for a new lift station truck Mr. Bounds, this is all yours.
Yes, so we had our bid opening this morning. We received back 3 bids. The lowest bid came from Lincoln Chrysler Dodge Jeep. The bid came in at $38,437 plus title and license fees. I do have a call in to narrow down what those title and license fees amount to, but I do not have an answer to that right now. What this truck is it's our lift station truck. It's the truck that you're going to see out around town the most often. It does lift station checks 3 times a week plus South Plant on Sunday. The truck that we currently have is a 2008 that the trade-in value that we got for it, or that they've offered for it, is $1,500. The 4-wheel drive has gone out of it. We have 2 wheel bearings going bad, and the transmission is starting to slip. It is beyond time to replace this vehicle, so I would very much appreciate the council to approve the lowest bid that we received on this.
Alderman Parrott.
Yeah, just a question. How many miles on that vehicle? It's 12 years old. Just kind of curious. 125? Thank you.
No, we are looking north of that. I had that written down. I, however, do not have it in front of me. I believe it was 155,000.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm looking in the packet, and I don't see the breakdown for those that bid.
We just got them today.
Okay, can you restate what those bid amounts were, Andrew, and who made them?
Yes, Lincoln Chrysler Dodge Jeep was $38,437 plus title and license fee. That included a $1,500 trade-in value for the current truck that we have.
Okay.
Jim Grama's Ford Lincoln Mercury put in a bid at $44,652. I am not able to discern a trade-in value off of that bid sheet, but that was expressed to all bidders.
Okay.
Grau put in a bid for $44,365, and they did not include a trade-in allowance either.
Okay. Alderman Bateman.
Andrew, you and I had discussed this a while back. This is a 3/4 ton truck.
Yes, it is.
And did you add provisions for a snowplow unit on it to be used at the plant, and if need be?
Yes, Alderman Bateman. That's probably something I should touch on. For the reason this vehicle is a little more expensive than ones that we have typically purchased, this will have a 7.5-foot snowplow unit, a trailer brake kit, a Class 4 receiver, which allows us to pull some of our heavier equipment. It also has a lift gate with a 1,300-pound capacity.
And unlike the last truck, this truck is going to be yellow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Parrott.
The current truck, what manufacturer is that?
Ford.
So all of the add-ons that you just spoke about, they're included in this price?
Correct.
Okay. Alderman Bateman.
So I just wanted to touch Andrew and I discussed this in length of what this truck could be used for above and beyond what the original truck was used for, as in plowing snow around the plant. If they had an emergency at a lift station, instead of waiting for street and alley to get out there, they could use the plow for that also with the lift to haul equipment and such. So it was basically more or less spec'd out for more than just a lift station truck. I think it's very well needed out there. The other one is dilapidated quite a bit, and this truck would have multiple uses, which I think would go a long way for its value.
So would you guys like to place this on the regular agenda?
Regular agenda.
Okay, we'll place this one on the regular agenda. Okay, next item up is the M&R reconciliation for fiscal years 2018 to 2019 and 2019 to 2020. Andrew?
Yeah, so we've got going here is our maintenance and repair function of the contract. You guys pay us the original contract amount of $75,300, and we have exceeded that for 2 years. Now, we knew from contract negotiations that there were going to be some M&R expenditures that were going to be above and beyond what had historically been allowed through the contracts. During negotiations, Veolia was able to identify roughly $110,000 worth of savings that was passed directly to the city through a contract price reduction from your previous operator to us. That $110,000, we knew we were going to have to spend on some of the maintenance and repair items that had historically not been handled as well as they could have been. So that's where we're at with this. We went roughly over for the 2018-2019 year. We exceeded the $75,300 by $37,308.85. And for the 2019-2020 year, we exceeded the same contracted amount because there was no increase between that first year and the second by $39,559.22. During contract negotiations, there was another deficiency that was identified within our contract, that the previous threshold for spending limits was capped at $2,500 within the historical contracts that the city had executed. This just didn't make sense because every other department head's spending limit was capped at $5,000. So during negotiations, we agreed to raise it to $5,000, not knowing what those financial impacts would potentially be. What I'm trying to say here is with these overages, you would have been paying this stuff directly historically. These bills would have been brought to you. For the 2018-2019 year, the expenditures that exceeded the $2,500 threshold limit were $43,550.17, and that would have been directly paid by the city. For the 2019 and 2020 year, those exceedances would have reached $41,245.23, which, like I said, would historically have been paid directly by the city. So since we increased that cap within the contract, Veolia was given the ability to more align with the other department heads on the $5,000 spending cap.
Okay, any questions for Andrew? Alderman Fleshman.
Yes, is there a way that we can be notified of these costs on maintenance and repair? It seems like a year or year and a half old bill. We've let that lay there for too long. Is it possible to report this quarterly to us so we can keep track of it a little better?
After our discussion the other day, Alderman Fleshman, I have the previous monthly operations report. The M&R spend has been added in there, and I would be more than willing to add a percentage based off the negotiated contract amount if that would alleviate what you're getting at here.
Yes, I'm getting at it. We're paying maintenance repair costs for a 2018-2019 fiscal year.
We need some benchmarks, right?
Yeah.
So Andrew, we can talk about some periodic benchmarks so that we stay ahead of what those overages may be. Is that
I'm more than open to that idea, yes.
okay? Alderman Bateman.
Well, I hate to put this on you, Andrew, but I would like it more in line with department reports, maybe every other month. Get us a report that we can, at least the council can look over, just like we do the other department head reports. If there's questions, we can ask you. If not, we just read the report and at least we know where we stand in the situation.
Andrew, thoughts on that one, Andrew?
Yeah, no, like I said, it will be in the monthly operations report every single month going forward.
Okay. All right, so Alderman Fleshman.
Well, I guess I'd refer to Mr. Conzo on this. We have budgeted some maintenance and repair already, is that correct?
Yeah, we have, and that's what I was going to address before you asked me, so I'm glad you asked that question. That's a good question. Yes, we do have it in the budget for this year to compensate for what we didn't do in the previous 2 years, essentially, and in addition to the M&R expenses for this year. If you look at that line, we have $120,000 in that line, which would be enough to cover this and what we anticipate for the current year, what Andrew and his company have projected for the current year.
Does that answer your question,
Yes.
Alderman Fleshman?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Treasurer, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's what I was going to
Okay.
address.
Okay. So we'll place this item on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Okay, we'll place that on the regular agenda. Okay, moving on to item number 16. This is the Lincoln rate structure reevaluation. I will turn it over to Andrew and/or Christie, I believe, for this one.
Christie,
Andrew,
you want-
you need to start?
So just to be clear, this is the sewer tier structure that we've been anticipating. Right.
Yes. So basically where we're at is, and per our NPDS permit, we are actually supposed to take a look at our rate structure every year and assess where we're at. And now we're actually doing that. So we get in our go back in time machine when we were looking at the 3-tiered rate increase. We are currently on tier 2 with tier 3 scheduled to go into effect in January. So this year we looked through what the revenues are and the fact that we've been able to get 15% principal forgiveness and a reduced interest rate for both of our projects. And it very much appears that in order to cover the CSO program as it was defined and to make that payback, we do not need the tier 3 rate increase. We can leave that on the table for the future so that if something happens, as we've spoken many, many times, we have 5 significant industrial users that contribute a very large portion of the revenue. So it's never wrong to have that in our back pocket if we should need it, and IEPA considers that a positive to have that available should we need it. But again, as was promised back in the day, Councilman Fleshman was on the board, you were on the council. We were only going to do it if we needed to do it. And looking at that today, the revenue that we're generating will cover the loan repayment. That does not cover any other maintenance or any other issues, just the CSO program.
Alderman Bateman.
So I was going to put this off to a later date, but I know my phone will ring tomorrow and I'll get messages. So I'm just going to state it now. I hear from a lot of people that would like the 10% discount for paying your bill annually. I would actually take part of that. But, and I'll answer these questions as they come in on my phone, but I'm going to state it now for public record. As you just heard, it appears right now that we don't need to go to tier 3, but this project is long from done, and I would feel much more comfortable before we have a discussion about offering discounts and how we're going to structure that. I would be a no vote on discounts until we get this project much further down the line and closer to completion to know where we stand to offer those. So I am in favor of discounts for those that are asking. I think we could structure something, as an annual basis for discounts, paying your sewer bill in advance. But at this time, I still would vote to hold off because we still got a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of unknowns out there in the world yet. And I'd like to get further down toward the end, toward the goal line before I start making those conversations.
Alderman Hornicki.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that too. I hate to give the constituents something, a program that would be utilized, and then for some unforeseen reason, we'd have to discontinue that program. So yeah, I think we do just need to hold off a little longer, and hopefully things will just keep moving in the positive direction.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Christy and Shannon. It's probably been a couple weeks, and we looked at what those projections were. And I have to say that I was very excited at the end of that meeting. The projections are really good for the next several years to come. But that doesn't mean that we have a bunch of extra money, because, as you know, things happen. We're going to have to do that. So I agree with Alderman Bateman and Alderman Hoineke. If we were going to go into Tier 3, then I would advocate for that discount at this time. But I think until the project is complete and things stabilize, we need to just hold fast on where we're at with this. Alderman Bateman.
I also want to remind everybody that October, November, December is your water use rate to determine your sewer rate for next year. If you look at your water use and you're right on the cusp of dropping down a tier, I suggest you take much faster, quicker showers. Control your water usage, because at that point, if you're that close to the cusp, you actually control what your sewer rate will be for the next 12 months. So we did it for that, so nobody's watering their lawns right now or swimming pools and such. So I encourage everybody to minimize their water usage if they want to control what they pay on sewer.
Alderman Downs.
Yeah. Hey, Christy, I just had a couple general questions on the Tier 3 increase. How much of an increase would that be?
Actually, that's in your is it currently in your sewer use ordinance?
I think it's $5.
And that would go from, we have 3 different levels, or 4 different levels based on use. Every level would bump up by $5 a month. So right now, the lowest level of usage is $30. It would go up to $35. The second level would go from 40 to 45. And that basically, those levels, the first, because I know you weren't here when we did this, the first level is 0 to 1,000 gallons. Level 2 is 1,001 to 4,000 gallons. Level 3 is 4,001 to 8,000, and then level 4 is 8,000 and up. So the highest bill is capped at right now, the highest bill is capped at 60, the lowest at 30 with $10 increments. And basically those same bills for those volumes would go up by $5 a month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that we're also going to have to consider with this is that, as Christy mentioned in the beginning, by ordinance, this is supposed to take effect January 1st of 2021. I believe we're going to have to work with Mr. Hoblet to get some sort of resolution that will postpone this tier implementation indefinitely, so that it's still on the books should this council or a future council need to implement that, but at least it postpones it and prevents it from implementing next year. Alderman Fleshman.
Yes, I agree to postpone it and somehow write it in the ordinance that, we have Tier 3 available for us. Prior to meeting night, I spoke with Treasurer Conzo on this item, and fortunately for us, in 2024, we will reduce our operating costs around $600,000 because of a bond payment. Also, Christy, I could be wrong here, but I dug into my paperwork from originally when we did this, and this might help answer Alderman Downs' question. The increase, if we do go to Tier 3, overall residential would be about a $300,000 a year increase for us annually.
Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify something, Alderman Fleshman and I did talk about that. That loan, or that was the original IEPA loan from 2004. We refinanced it in 2014 as an alternate revenue bond, and that 600,000 plus is used for that payment. So that will that last payment actually be in the 2023-2024 fiscal year. To be exact, it's due December 1st, 2023. But we're coming up to December 1st of this year, so there'll still be that payment. We're about to make that payment for this year. We'll have it again in 2021, 2022, and 2023, and that's great. But we do want to remain mindful of other things that can happen. Federal government has mandated things in the past that have resulted in us having to do a lot of the work that's being done now. If there's a Biden administration, if that turns out to be the result, when this is all the votes are counted, there's a good possibility you'll see other IEPA regulations based on some of the things that President Clinton and President Obama did. A lot of these regulations come from those eras. They also came from the Quinn administration at the state level. So you want to keep in mind that those are possibilities, and you might need that operating revenue. But we don't need it as yet, apparently, based on what we've just heard from Ms. Kreitz. But I think it's something that we want to keep out there as a possibility if we need to enact that in the future because of possible mandates that may result at the either national or state level.
Mr. Hoblet.
As I understand it, right now the ordinance reads that the next rate structure next year is to go into effect January 1st, 2021. If you're looking to ensure that you still have that option available to you, a quick change could be that you indicate that the next rate structure is to go into effect earlier than January 1st, 2021 at the discretion or at the will of the council. I mean, it would be a small change and one that probably could be effectuated soon if the council is looking to vote on this sooner rather than later.
That seems straightforward and clean.
Put that on the next cow so we can vote on it.
Can you have that ready by the next cow for us to vote on? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hoblet. Okay, so the rate structure evaluation then, it doesn't appear that it needs any action by the council, but it's great news. Okay. All right, moving on. Thank you, Christy and Andrew, for that one. Okay, next item up is the Land of Lincoln CEO 3-year commitment of $1,000 per year, giving a total of $3,000 per agreement. So in your packet, you will see that we received a letter from Ms. Doolin, as we have seen these packet requests in the past. And they are coming back asking us again if the city would make that 3-year commitment to that entrepreneurial program to support those young entrepreneurs in the community. And so the question before the council is, does the council wish to consider continuing supporting this program, and if so, in what capacity? Discussion. Alderman Keller.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a great program. I think most all of us, or all of us in the council here, are familiar with this enough that I'm glad we support it. It does a great job in enhancing the entrepreneurship of kids, as well as bringing out some skills of networking and being able to present themselves in a social atmosphere. And I think they've done a great job in the world of COVID to try to compensate for what they've had to do, because they like to do a lot of hands-on with businesses. Unfortunately, COVID has curtailed that, but I think they've done all they possibly could to try to make that as realistic as possible. Having said that, though, I would feel that that they should feel so inclined to have the courtesy maybe to come forward and give a report on what they have done, what they wish to do, if that's Ms. Doolin or anybody else, you know, if they're going to asking for money, it seems to me that maybe at the next COW, if we could reach out to them to have them come forward and give a report on the CEO and what they envision for the future.
Alderman Parrott?
Yeah, I would like to have somebody come in and present. I'd be kind of curious. I can't recall, how many years have we supported this? This is
Third time we've done a 3-year agreement,
this is our third time we've done a 3-year.
so at least 6 years we've done it.
At least 6 years. And I know, you know, the big goal of this is to try to have local students come back to the community and start businesses. And we're on that cusp now of trying to get some data as far as how many students that have graduated, you know, and where they're at and what they're doing now. And are they in the community, you know, because the community is given to them. You know, the idea is that they're going to help the community, you know, once they graduate. Now, you know, I'm very familiar with the CEO from my work, and I know that our citizens pay taxes for the school districts to support education and educating our students. And so this seems to be as well as a way of taking additional citizens' tax dollars to help support this initiative here. I kind of question that just a little bit. I think it's more the business and industry, you know, role to help this, perhaps. And so I just have a little hesitancy of using additional tax dollars when our citizens are being taxed already for the schools and educating students.
We can ask Ms. Doolin to attend the next COW and answer any questions the council has. I don't think that would be a problem. Ms. Cavalman?
Yes, I did want to say when we were being kept at home earlier in March or April, they had a presentation. It was all done virtual, and it was very, very interesting. Very talented students.
Yep. Okay, so we will ask Ms. Doolin to attend. Okay, moving down to announcements. Does the council have any announcements they'd like to make? Alderman Parrott?
Yeah, I received an email, I'm trying to go back to that now, in regards to the positivity rate of COVID in Lincoln, and with our businesses being open. And the question was, in the city of Springfield, I'm not for sure if any of you other received this email or not, but in the city of Springfield, they are staying open as well, and what they're having their businesses do, whether they're gaming or I think maybe the bars and some of those establishments, are having people sign in for contact tracing. And so the question was, you know, is that something that, you know, the city of Lincoln can do as well to help offset the spread? Now, you know, I know that there's issues with people probably wanting to give their names and stuff like that in this type of situation. So you have to be, I don't know if you can mandate it or not, but maybe we could ask these establishments after a discussion to see what the council would say in case we need to do, or any contact tracing needs to be done.
So I was going to share this with you guys later, so since you've opened the door, we'll have this discussion. You're correct. Sangamon County has implemented a modified mitigation plan. I have a document that I've received from the health department which outlines those guidelines. It's been in the paper, and Alderman Bateman has sat in on at least one meeting with businesses with me on this one, and those bars and restaurants are looking at those guidelines as part of the decision that they're making, whether they wish to choose to remain open or not. I have been in numerous meetings with the health department. Alderman Keller sits in on those meetings. He did long before I took over for Mayor Goodman. Chief Adams is in there. Chief Danofsky is a member of that. The state's attorney, the health department, members of the health department, the Logan County Board Chair, we're all in those meetings. And the topic of discussion, at least weekly, is number one, let's talk about the numbers and the things that that we're facing as a community. And we do talk a lot about the positivity rates. We talk about the availability of ICU beds and how critical those numbers are getting. When it comes to the businesses staying open, I had 2 phone calls today that I had discussions with the health department about this topic, and we are working together to try to come up with some options that, because a lot of the control is out of our hands, it's really in the hands of the health department and furthermore the Illinois Liquor Commission. But if we can come to some sort of extremely safe option for those businesses to remain open, which would include the 20 to 25 or 25 people or 25% capacity. This is some of the stuff in Sangamon counties. Asking questions as customers come in the door. You already see this in some businesses, such as, have you been exposed to anybody that's tested positive for COVID? There has been the questions raised about whether someone will sign a document or not. There have been a number of things discussed on how they can do that in a safe manner. They all include the stuff that we've already seen in tier 3 and so, or phase 3. So that's, the 6 feet social distancing. The new one actually includes things such as if you're in a restaurant or bar and you're with other people, they have to be related to you. They cannot be just a bunch of friends hanging out. They're really focused at pushing the safety aspect for the customers, even more so pushing the safety aspect for those employees, i.e. Springfield, I believe, is enforcing the use of masks to the point where you can actually call and the city will take action on that one. I don't know if it's a mandate at this point, but I've heard that discussion. So as you can see, they're really focusing on those things. But again, it's a modified version of what that mitigation plan is. And so regardless of how that moves forward, everybody is in agreement that is having those discussions. If those businesses choose to move forward in a modified plan of any sort, and they say, yep, we agree that we're going to be strict like this moving forward, and through complaints that get called in, through observations in the community with officials who have that capacity and enforcement aspect, they will take more aggressive action with them. Because the idea is that if you're telling us that you need to do this and you need to do it and you're agreeing you're going to do it in a safe manner, then we expect you to do it. That's pretty much the message. So I can tell you that the bigger concern, bars and restaurants are concerns. So of all the things that have been discussed, at the top of that list is bars, restaurants, and banquet facilities. They believe that restaurants are really trying their hardest, but where it gets a little hairy is the bars, because some are enforcing it less than others. I've seen and heard both. Banquet facilities, there was a large gathering that the health department was made aware of this past weekend, and they turned it over to the Illinois State Police for them to investigate and take action on if they chose. And I have no doubt that if the state's attorney had been given adequate notice, that he might have taken action as well on that matter. But a lot of the things that are going on right now in the community that we can't get a grasp on is people hanging out in large crowds, whether that be at a banquet facility, in your backyard, inside your house at a party. Those are some of the things at the top of the list that are making it challenging. So I know I kind of threw a lot at you there, but that's pretty much a summary of all the meetings that I've had. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Any other announcements?
I have one.
Okay, Chief, all you.
Logan County Pest Control, it has given me an estimate to treat the fungus that's in the basement on both sides, on the walls. We've cleaned out the basements, we've cleaned out the attic, This is the next step in the project and hopefully the last. The reason I'm bringing this to you is because Benjamin Potratz, the new owner of the business, since the other one passed away a few months ago, he's struggling with finances as far as getting the business up and going during the COVID time. And he's asking that we pay like half up front and then half when he's finished, so he can afford to buy the chemicals that it'll take to take care of that. So I'm asking that we put on the agenda or for the vote for Monday to pay him half up front.
What is that amount, Chief?
The total bill is $3,500. So half of 35, 1750, 1,750.
Yep. Alderman Bateman?
I don't have a problem with that as long as we have a completion date. I just don't feel comfortable giving out the 1750, and not to say that he wouldn't with unforeseen circumstances, but then we have this same conversation in March that it hasn't been done yet. So if the council approves the 1750, I would like for him to give us a date that the project would be done by reasonably.
Yeah, what'll have to happen is he'll order the chemicals. When they come in, we'll pick a time for him to do that. Then the chemicals will have to be cleaned up when it dries off and gets scraped, and then it'll have to be painted. And that's all part of the bid. So I'm not sure about the exact time frame. I just know the process that it has to go through.
Can you give us a rough
We can
timeline?
definitely ask him.
We can ask him. Okay. Yep, so get with him and then let us know. So does the council want to place this on the agenda for next week? Yes. Okay, so we'll place that one on the regular agenda for next week. Okay. Is that all you had, Chief?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Real quick, Mr. Landers is not here with us this evening. He asked me to remind everybody that leaf pickups will be on Thursday due to the holiday. And the landscape waste facility will still be open on Wednesdays. Okay, due to the holidays. So, the next item that I have is Mr. Hoblet will have to speak with us as well. But let me preface this. We at the city have had, and I believe the council is aware of this, but I'll state it for public knowledge. We at the city have had a number of employees who have tested positive for COVID, and not in one particular department, but in various. Due to the information that I actually just shared with Mr. Parrott and the council, you know, the numbers are going up. The severity of this pandemic is real. And I feel it's my job to make sure that the people that come in this building can do so with some confidence of safety. And so there's mitigation plans in place to ensure the safety of the second floor and frequency of sanitation, the employees that live up here as well as part of their jobs. But I have reverted our department head meetings to virtual meetings for now, so that we aren't all coming into an environment that can be questionable at times. So I've done that. I talked with Mr. Hoblet yesterday and today about this, and what I would like to ask the council for their support on is to do something similar to when Mayor Goodman was here, and that is to pass another resolution that takes our meetings and combines the COW and the voting meeting back into one meeting for the time being until the numbers start to come down a little bit. It keeps us out of this building a little bit more, and I think it just creates a safer environment. Another thing where, as people paying attention, you guys can see everybody in public participation tonight was on the phone. So we'll remove the language from the top of the agenda asking people to come into the building. For now, we want them to use our virtual options. So if the council would support that, I'd like to put a resolution on the agenda for next week. Everybody okay with that? Mr. Hoblet, can you have that one ready for us by next week?
Yes. As previously did a resolution to the Summit County, it would be simple enough to pull up that template that I've used beforehand, make some adjustments, and have it ready for next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll put that on the consent agenda.
It can't be on the consent agenda. If it's a resolution,
Oh, it's gotta
be
go
on the
on
regular
yeah.
agenda.
Okay, regular agenda. Okay. So that's all I had. Anybody else? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Alderman Keller made the motion, Alderman Parrott second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9 p.m.